Hello everyone, Eb here with Tech Motorsports and welcome to... Okay, so I got it situated underneath. Still hit my light, so but I got it underneath, and the only issue I could see now, not really issue, is just because I've never had to deal with it, is the steering shaft on the right side of the engine. So just got to make sure that clears and that doesn't hold me up. Otherwise, in the AC compressor, like always, just because when I pulled it off, it was in the way. So when I put it, rest it down, I got to keep an eye on that. So yeah, everything seems to be good, and keep plugging away at it. And there she is. All right, so the engine and tranny are bolted in. Feels like there's light at the end of the tunnel with all this. But so just to give you a quick summary, so to touch base on the actual Vanos, what is it? The Vanos accumulator, and then the Vanos line. Okay, so here is the Vanos accumulator. This is what I was talking about earlier. As you can see, this item right here, this is my AC bracket. And if I would have rotated or kept it how it was originally on the E36 M3, this section here would end up hitting right here and I would not be able to bolt it on. So what I had to do is flip it, as you can see. And then what I had to do is bend the tab that normally sits on the bottom and then slide the accumulator up just a tad bit. It does clear the header. It looks much more closer in the video here, but there is probably about 3 to 4 inches before the bolt hits the bottom of the header. So by doing that, it pushed the accumulator back towards the engine mount a little bit, and that's what I had to kind of tweak the hardline, the Vanos hardline, to be able to get it to work. So that's why we replaced it with a steel braided line. And our main issue was, if I could bring it right there, the line itself, or not the line, but the accumulator was coming really close. As you could see, it kind of, when I first put it on, there was a little ding there when I realized, shoot, that's not gonna work. So like I said before, I had to be very gentle on my massaging to get it to move over to that side. So everything is all good, and she clears. So as I start to put things together, just for fitment, so the next thing I end up doing is I started fitting our Z3 radiator in place for better cooling. So by doing that, and I slid it in its slots, what happens is these might be different, or they are different, because the Z3 radiator won't fit and slide in there. It kind of hits. But the part of it is when the radiator sits in place, and these are mounted on the chassis, the rubber mount sits like about right here. So it's not fitting correctly. So we've ordered some for a US E36. So we've installed Z3 radiators in this chassis, so we know they fit. This has to be the oddball item, okay? If you need to take this off from underneath, this is how it goes from underneath the car itself, and there's 2 tabs right here. You just split them up and you slide it down, and it comes right on out. So we'll take care of that and get that going. So the next step is I'm going to just try to get further along, just to make sure there's anything else that we need. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the radiator, get those in place. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put this in place, but I won't put the rubber stoppers in. So it'll get me down further to mimic the regular, or close to regular height of the radiator, so I could go ahead and start plugging some stuff on there, see what's going to clear, what's not going to clear, and so on and so on. All right, so I got the radiator in. As far as down as you could, you probably won't be able to see it in the camera. It does sit up a little bit taller, which is still good because I still am able to get a general idea of
the fitment of it all. So I got my fan in here, my mechanical fan. So my hose is in place and everything seems to be good there. So I'm going to leave that there because that's what I need to do, is kind of start assembling stuff just to see what will work and what will not work. And because this is technically my first right-hand drive engine swap, it's there's a handful of elements that I'm just not used to. So so the next step, what I'm going to end up doing is working on the heater hoses and getting the heater hoses cut and spliced into place with the OEM ones, and get those out of the way because they're all the way back in the back. I want to get done with all that. And then in the interim, I'm also going to start laying the wiring harness just loosely, so I can get an idea to make sure everything is good and where everything goes and so forth and so forth. So yeah, let's keep plugging away. Test fitting, that's the big key. So I had to take the radiator and everything back off. I forgot to put the coolant pipe from the water pump that goes to the surge tank. So I got that on, and when I went to go put that on, and of course I had to release or loosen and kind of take off a little bit, swing it, the AC compressor. Now the AC line was hitting that hose. So what I was able to do was ever so slightly just barely move it over or massage it, bend it, just a tad bit, and now she's clears the pipe and everything. So sweet. It was probably about maybe a half an inch or so that I had to go ahead and just barely, and I didn't do it all at one sweep. I did it little by little, so that way it wouldn't break or, you know, create a crease or anything of that sort. So crisis averted. So now I can start throwing that stuff back on and work my way back to the heater hose, which I have pretty much the heater hose almost completely done already. I just got to do a couple little cuts in here and there and hose clamps, and then the heater hoses should be pretty much attached. Okay, so got the heater valve attached. So technically the line from the E36 M3, the one that connects to the actual block itself, that's the long hosed one. So I end up cutting that, putting it, which is on the bottom port of the heater valve for the E36. And then the one that comes back from the water pump goes into the third slot of the coolant, or actually the heater core. So the E46 M3 or the S54 has the actual clips on it. So I was able to reuse without trimming any of the shorter hose. That one just went behind and went right into there and hose clamps her down. So yeah, so that's done now. I did install the intake manifold just to make sure there was no issues, and it's technically just barely resting on it. So what I'll do is I'll try to create and tweak that bracket a little bit more just to make sure it doesn't sit there and rub. But for the most part, she's all good. She clears, and that's what I was kind of worried, that it didn't clear at all. Okay, so a couple of the items that we were waiting on were the fan shroud for the Z3 radiator. We were waiting on the radiator clips / holders, look like this. The reason why we had to replace these are Euro spec, and actually what it was, it's the radiator that was in here was a little bit more skinnier. So the Z3 radiator wouldn't fit in this little cup, so we had to get the US spec ones, which were for normal regular E36. And then the Z3 radiator fits like a glove. So yeah, so those parts came in, installed, got the Z3 radiator in place, and then also another item that we replaced instead of using the OEM ones were the radiator clips. What we went with, which were some aluminum ones with screws that actually hold the radiator in place and they clamp down. These actually work pretty great. I have them on my chump car, and so far so good. They've probably have ran I want to say 3 endurance races, and so far so good. They stay intact, because what I was getting is one of these would pop out, and then the radiator would move a lot and get close to the fan and such, so it messed up the actual radiator. So the other thing that I had to do is get an AC belt. The AC belt that came with the 2.0 With the E36, the AC belt was too small, and then the one for the E46 M3, that was too big. So I had to go in there and take the belt over to the auto parts store and start measuring it out. And what I came out to end up using was a 345 K5. That was the size that would fit the AC compressor with the AC bracket from the original E36 Euro motor, and just bolted on side of the block, and that's the belt I ended up using. So the other thing that we were waiting on was the Vanos line here. We replaced the hard line because I had to do a little bit of massaging to get it to go around certain areas so it can fit the Vanos accumulator that's down underneath the exhaust. So by doing that and getting a steel braided line, it minimized the movement that I had to massage on the hard line. So those things are prone to crack anyway, so we went ahead and replaced it. And one key note that I do want to state is when you purchase the hard braided line, take a few minutes, make sure that the crush washers that come with the kit, that they are the correct size. If they're not the correct size and they're a little bit bigger, what will end up happening is it won't sit very well on the banjo nut itself, and it will leak, and it'll just put oil everywhere underneath here. And if it's the same way underneath with the accumulator, you're gonna have oil down there on the floor as well. It's very high pressure here. You could also get it to where it doesn't seal correctly, and it leaves a nice lovely stain on your roof of the oil when you turn it on, and it just shot straight up into the ceiling. So I have that to remind me every time I come into the shop. So that's just a key point. Make sure that you take the old ones and verify that those are the correct ones with the new ones that you get, and that's it. Okay, so with the next thing that we had to do the next thing would be the coolant to surge tank. We had to purchase another one, which I got it here. This is from an E30. Now, originally what my plan was at first, thinking, oh, this is gonna work great, is to remove the OEM windshield washer reservoir that's right here, and then install the E46 M3 surge tank there and create it in a bracket and doing all that. But DH wanted to keep this tank there, so we had to kind of think of another idea. And I know I've installed one of these and an S54 on an E36 M3, so we know this one works fine. The only thing is there is only really mainly two places, but definitely for sure one is for it to go right here. So now what I had to end up doing is I started to route my wires and making sure that I'm able to get my wires out of the way into this compartment with the DME, and then be able to create a bracket with it in here. So as of right now, where I stopped last night was trying to get the wiring harness here situated close to the firewall so that I can put this cover on, so that way it seals. And as I went to go do that, this is just a little bit too thick where I got here in a section. So I have to go back and undo some of the zip ties and try to thin that out a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't know how much more thinner I'm gonna get. Now, I did not remove the SMG harness. I left that attached, and I know that's taking up some space. I just didn't want to have to cut any wires right off the back right now that might hinder the car from starting or any other issue. So right now we just decided just to keep them in place and just put them aside. That is what I'm dealing with right now on the wiring harness. So once I can get the wiring harness all figured out and put in place, and I could say, okay, I'm going to keep how it's routed now, that's how I am going to finalize everything, then I could go to the surge tank right here, which my whole goal is to put it here, which with the actual intake here, there is room right here. But I also want to leave enough room to where we could access and remove the DME without having to remove this. Now, if we could just grab this and unscrew it and just put it aside with the hose just still being around, I could probably deal with that, because the only hose that we might have to deal with would be just this one here that goes to the radiator. But if it's flexible, it should be good. So that is a plan. I don't know if that's the plan I'm going to stick with, but location number 2 would be kind of like right here, but the technically we'll be using this area for cold air. So and it would probably go something like this if I end up doing something, and if I did keep it here, but I don't think it's going to go there. I think that's going to be the place right there. So yeah, let me do a little bit more tweaking with the wiring harness here, and hopefully I can get that resolved, and then we'll move on to this, because once I can get this installed and this mounted to where I want it and get the hoses attached and get them routed to the other side of the engine, I will double check everything and should be ready to start. Okay, so I've got the wiring redone just a tad bit. What I was able to do is pull some of the wires that are out of the, that goes into the actual, where the DME sits. I was able to pull them out, which are just the terminal ends. They end up feeding, one wire feeds in, but a bunch of them tie into that one junction, and they branch off and supply power or ground to other items. So what I ended up doing is I pulled those out, brought them, and they're secured here for right now. And there is a plastic like zip tie nut there, so I end up using that to pull the wiring harness in. And I got plenty of room here. Nothing is binding up or anything in this area. So it looks like I've got my wiring routed okay. So now it's just gonna be a matter of, once I get everything else finalized, I like how it is, I could go ahead and start getting stuff more wrapped and getting more in place, so that way they'll fit into there. But now the access panel, it'll fit the wires in there, and that was my problem earlier. Just it was too fat. So now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to attach the intake, so that way I can start positioning the coolant tank. And there are 2 wires. I have the purge solenoid here that I have to extend, which I technically don't need it, but I'm going to extend it anyways. And then also the MAF. It's somewhere in here somewhere. I can't see because I don't have my glasses on my face. I have them on my head. But anyways, oh, here it is right here. And then I got my MAF one here, which I'm gonna have to extend and bring it out to here. So yeah, so I'm going to install the intake and see what I can do with the coolant tank. Okay, now that you can see the intake installed, and I got the filter also installed, you can see that there's a nice little space right here, and hopefully I can make this go in there. I just have to create a couple brackets, and the whole thing also, when I put it in there, is, well, I have enough room to be able to access and have to remove the DME if need be down the road. As you can see, by the time we get in there, there's really no other place for it except for right here. Now, could we use a E36 and E36 one, which is that little tube canister? It may work over there, and I do have a spare to where if I cannot make it work here, I'll maybe look at doing it over there. But this seems to be the nice one, because it's just a beautiful little spot right here. Don't mind this hose. This is actually for the brake booster, which will be connected to here. Okay, so got the tank kind of in place, and this is where I am going to put it. I am going to use the E30 tank as well. And I did grab an E36 tank that goes on the side, and I tried to put it here. It looked okay, plenty of room down there because there's really nothing down there. The only thing that sucked was the hose did go straight down, so I would have to kind of create a U to get it to come this way. But I also looked at putting the E36 bottle behind the left-hand side headlight, down towards where the horn is at. But it just didn't look well. I had to bring it down really far for it to be for it to clear, and just decided this would be the best place for it. So the next thing is going to create the brackets. It's going to sit up a little bit. She clears the padding underneath the hood. The only thing that doesn't is the dipstick. It does rub a little bit. There's just a very small little indentation there when I close it. And just gotta route my hose, and the only thing is I got 7 feet of hose, which looks like I might need a little more. and I'm gonna have to go get some unions and stuff to be able to get some 45 degrees and some 90. So that's next on the list. So once I can get that finalized, get that going, all I have to do is everything is pretty much pre-wired. All I have to do is just put some ends on some power and some grounds, get those in. Everything else is plugged in. The only thing that I have outstanding is this little wire right here, which this is technically will connect to, it's supposed to be for OBD2, and I have this green wire here, which I'm going to end up connecting to that, and then my OBD2 port is going to be underneath the steering wheel on the right hand side. So yeah, that would be the only thing. So yeah, I'm gonna get plugging away. All right, so here's the bracket for the coolant tank, and there's an actual bracket, an OEM bracket back in the back, and that's where I screwed it to. Got the slot here for the actual for the coolant tank itself, and then the bracket that I created here that bolts on to one of the ABS screws, and that will hold the front section of the bottle. So yeah, so now what I got to do is extend this wire here, and then the MAF one here as well to the new location, since the wiring harness goes back towards the firewall and not alongside here on the like the E36 M3. So I'll be doing that and just button everything up. Okay, so the wiring has been extended, the 2 plugs, which is the purge valve here. I don't know why I did, but I did it. And then the MAP sensor has already been extended, so I got a little bit of extra in case I need to reroute it differently and everything. So my surge tape's in place, the wires are all cleared. I got my the vacuum hose for the booster, it goes way over there, so I got that attached. I already put oil in the engine. And right now, all my electrical is connected, minus that connection over there, and then the battery. Those are the 2 items I still have to connect. And I've gone through everything, and the only other wire I have disconnected on the harness that we end up getting for the S54 is this wire here, which is technically for my OBD2. So I have that wire already running here, but to get the engine started, I don't need disconnected. So at this point, what I'm going to end up doing is pulling the coolant system down in the vacuum, so make sure I don't have any leaks. And if she holds a vacuum, then that means there pretty much is a nice tight seal. And I'll go ahead and add some distilled water, and then I'm going to add water wetter. So yeah, getting real close. All right, and there she is. She's topped off for the most part, and I thought I would take all 3 gallons, but close to it. But yeah, so time to add my water wetter and put the intake back on, and time to fire the engine up. All right, so I went ahead and put power at stages to make sure everything's good. Nothing. No smoke, no nothing out of the wires and stuff. So now I'm just going to go ahead and try and start it. First fire up on this car with this S54. Well, that was fired right on up. Awesome. So I'm just going to do a few little stuff and pick it up here in a few minutes. Well, here she is. She's complete. Everything is all back together. The wire loom has been loomed, and the electrical box and all the connectors and the wiring have been ran, and then also the vacuum lines, and that's where the surge tank slash expansion tank is going. And just because how everything is thrown in, this one just goes right here. The only thing I got here is the bracket. It's the paint is drying, so I'll just put that on, and then the bracket that's going to go here will hold the dipstick in place. But there we go. Again, we'll be doing something later on with the intake, but that's at least good for now to get us going. And yeah, she looks amazing. So let's take a look at the other extra items that was dropped off to get done to the car while I was finalizing a couple of little different things. All right, here she is. Well, the rest of her, that is. So yeah, so here we go. We did the suspension. It was on back order, so we didn't have a really good ETA, so we weren't 100% sure if we were going to do the suspension or not. But when the car pretty much got done, the suspension came in, and DH did ask me, hey, I got the suspension in, I'm going to get the wheels mounted. Do you have time to get it done? Well, there was an issue with the tires and the wheels, so we had to wait a little bit. So when he came to pick the car up, there was a couple little things that I needed to do. And in our test drive, after getting everything running, third gear was grinding pretty bad. So we had to source out another transmission, which we got another SMG one, so I had to swap out valve housings as well. So we got that done, and in the interim, I still had to do the OBD2 port underneath the dash. I had to wire that up, and the bracket for the dipstick. And then the other thing that we noticed while we were messing with the car was the auxiliary fan was the fuse like super fat. It was like starting to melt, so there was an issue with it. So when I finally got everything running, I could hear the auxiliary fan making noise and everything, and it was all binding up. And sure enough, when the car came back, that fuse was blown. So there is a new fan on order. And also, it doesn't stop there. Also, once we going up and closing it and checking a few stuff with the hood, which I already noticed that the cable was a little bit stretchy. And sure enough, closed it one last time and went to open it again, and she wouldn't open up. So I had to figure out a way to do that. So a new cable's been put on order, so we'll be getting that done. So there's still a few more stuff that needs to be done to the car to get it back to hopefully its 100% glory. And yeah, so in the interim of all that, the main thing that we had to do was swap the transmission out, and then we added the suspension and we put the wheels on. So there's a lot of camber on this car. The wheels are 18 by 9.5, wrapped around two 5540 series 18s, and the offset on the wheels are 38. So we had to do some aggressive camber up front and the rear to get everything to clear. Up front, we've added some camber and more camber on top of that, and sprinkled a little bit more camber. So we got spacers behind the actual hub itself, or the spindle, and the lower section of the shock. And then, of course, as we keep progressing and adding more shims, the spacer has to get thicker and thicker. So right now we're running 18 mil in the front. We did have 15 mils. Here's some brand new ones, but I had 18 here. By the time I added the second shim to the suspension, the 15s wouldn't clear. So right now, the car hasn't driven out of here since the suspension is on. I've been kind of dialing the camber, the height, and getting everything looking okay. So right now, it's pretty much how it's going to sit is this ride height. But there's going to be a little bit of adjustments, like any suspension, you got to let it settle. So yeah, so this is pretty much it. The only thing I got to do is tighten up all my bolts real quick, so I can do a quick little drive around and see how much rubbing I'm going to have, because I know I'm going to have some rubbing. But we're going to be doing the fender flares. I will not be. Somebody else will be doing that. So they're going to go ahead and massage the fenders to get the extra clearance that we're going to need. So guys, man, I mean, this is pretty much it. I appreciate you watching. I knew there was a handful of episodes. This thing has been a journey. It's cool just to have something a certain way and just make it better. And there's a lot of stuff that was done to this car, and yeah, man, she turned out great. Like always, guys, please help the channel out, like and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next project.
I got a heart on fire. Someone hit the alarm. A heart on fire. Lighting up after dark. I hold my breath, but it's still gonna catch a heart on fire. Heart on fire. Lately it's been hard to feel.